Welcome back, guys, to episode 10 of 11 o'clock with Yuvern
and Jihan.
Oh man, so just so you guys know, just a bit of context for you guys. This is our third take for episode
Yeah.
10. Okay, the first two tries we hit some technical snags, and in between the episode, in between recording, we had to cut out, like we had to stop recording and restart. And
Oh my god.
and
Yeah.
and since today's topic is time, I thought it fitting to say, since it's also our third take, I thought it fitting to say to you that third times the charm.
You know
wasn't too happy
that's a fairly good pun. That's a fairly good pun, Ji. Hi. Hello everybody. Yeah, so I know it actually was a hassle, not going to lie. We were actually stressed out yesterday. Two takes happened yesterday, and the third take we had to take a whole break to move on from the hassle of getting back into that mental space and being ready again to discuss the topic. But man, you know how frustrating it is to record a whole episode, be happy with it, and then take your phone and see that it didn't record.
I can't imagine what it must have been like for you. We recorded 30 minutes of a whole episode. It was perfect. It felt so right, and we really wanted to share it. We couldn't wait to share that episode with you guys. And then you went with his phone, and apparently it overheated. And oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that technology failed you yesterday. But let's hope it does not today. Hey, we have faith in you, Samsung.
Good damn. Yes. Of course. I mean, I feel
what
good.
were you
I feel good.
expecting?
Sorry?
What were you expecting? You using the phone that is the same brand of that created a phone that exploded on planes. Okay.
I mean, I understand that it's a hazard and borderline explosives that Samsung decided to market and sell, but I think they've moved on a lot from the company and everything.
Speaking of which, a lot of anticipation for the Samsung Galaxy Note 20. More on that in our upcoming episodes.
Yes. Oh my god.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Let's get into it. Let's really get into it. I'm actually really excited to finally talk about this properly and hopefully have it up and all. Oh my god. Okay, so a bit of context. If you're coming here not from a previous episode, this was supposed to be episode 9. That didn't happen due to a small conflict that went on. But anyway, the reason we wanted to talk about time was simply by a tweet from Twitter's main account that tweeted, "What is time?" And I saw G retweet it, I guess. And when I saw it, I was like, "Huh, that would be interesting." I'm not. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure whether I brought it up or G brought it up. But yeah, we brought up the topic, and it seemed very fitting to discuss what we think of time and how we perceive time. So yeah, if you're into all of that, welcome.
Oh man, you and I are so excited to talk about time. Okay, let's stop the banter. Let's get into it. Yuvan, how would you define time?
Right.
What is time to you?
Right. So the thing is, for me, per se, like time has always been something that I followed with a very strict schedule to keep myself productive and everything. But as time went on, I mean, as you know, as I grew up, I started realizing that when I look back, I don't want to look at a certain stricken life of sticking to a schedule. A lot of my time is measured not really by moments of consistency in every day keeping up with a certain schedule, but rather the moments that don't follow the schedule, like when things are unplanned, when we go out and when we make those memories, those things leave an imprint in my timeline. And when I look back at time, I don't see I see timestamps of memories that I've been through. Let it be, whether it's hanging out or like something monumental that happened. Monumental, what's a big word to Sorry, my life's pretty mundane, but yes, let's use big words to describe it, you know. But yeah, I measure time in a way of memory. So I try to live by making moments, and I measure them by how great those moments are, and you know that's kind of how I see it.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. So to you, time is kind of like a kind of collection of memories, rather a timeline of memories. You collect what matters, and that is your sequence in time.
Yeah,
If I'm understanding you
yeah, yeah,
correctly.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
What
Very
about you?
interesting. Very interesting. So a bit of background. I've always had a particular inclination, interest in physics, quantum physics, and how it relates to life and spirituality. You know, because the fact is that everything around us can be explained by physics, by science, and from the bird that's sitting on that wire right now, from the leaves that sway in the wind, and everything that happens to be moving, not moving, existent, non-existent, can all be explained by science, and the same goes for time. And we try to explain our lives through some kind of sequence by dividing our time into slots, right? Into some kind of category. So we say today is today, yesterday was yesterday, and tomorrow is tomorrow. That consists of 24 hours a day, 60 minutes an hour, and 60 seconds a minute. And that is just the human um, definition of time. You know, we
Yeah.
needed some kind of standardization of time in order for us to function in a kind of society. You know,
Yeah.
but to me, that's while it's necessary, while it's there for us to function, it also is more than that. Time to me is a kind of illusionary state that can either cause us to have too much anxiety by looking too far into the future, or by forcing us to carry too heavy a burden by carrying too much of our past with us. You know, the point is that we all have a before and we are going to have an after, and what we choose to do now is what that matters. What motivation we have now, what I want to do now is what matters. Because if you look too far into the future, then you're just going to be more you're only going to worry yourself, and you're only going to hinder your potential for the now, to fulfill your potential in the now. And
Yeah.
to me, that's what time is just a fourth dimension, I guess. An unseen dimension. You can't go back in time. When it comes to physics, it's you're constantly moving in one direction in time. Unfortunately, in the dimensions that we live in the reality that we live in, we are limited by that. We move forward. But when you look deeper than that, of course, there are other ways of looking at time. But just to me, it's unnecessary to think about too much. It's just, which is pretty ironic, seeming as I gave you probably a 3-minute explanation as to
Yeah.
what time is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Time is
I
simply
mean-
motivation. Time is now. It's just another dimension.
Yeah. It's like when you light a match, you know, and no, sorry, that's a. Yeah, but sort of when you light a match, and the stick is very linear, and the linearity represents the time, and that little spark that you have, I think that just represents the present that we have. And I think yeah, people get I feel like a lot, including myself. I'm very much guilty for it. Get caught up in the past or the future, a lot, and that often just clouds my present from doing what I want to do. You know, I sometimes start. I mean, like a lot of you, I'm sure, starts to overthink, starts to like over anticipate and build expectations of what you want things to be and everything. But I think sometimes it's actually you say more by saying less, I guess. You do more the lesser you think. And I think the less that you dwell with all of these possibilities per se, I think it builds a good a good foundation for you to be in the present.
I would have to disagree with you on that, because the fact is that a lot of people take thinking, take being still for granted. You know, being still, in my definition, being in the now, being in the present, doesn't mean that you don't think. It just means that you exist in the present. You don't dwell too much on what isn't now. That doesn't mean that I don't think. It means that I can still think in the now, think about how I want to plan my future out, think about if I have a particular motivation, if I have a particular goal, how I want to achieve it, um, how I can still divide my time to come to maximize my potential to achieve that particular goal. At the same time, being having the space in the now to sit still and to just think is something that we take for granted, because it is the thinkers, it is the people that think of the different possibilities, it's the people that think of why is this happening, what is going on in this world, how can I make a difference. These are the people that can make a difference, that even people who even begin to ask these questions are the ones that can even begin to make a change, in my opinion.
I mean, okay, wait. I think there was a misunderstanding there. No, I didn't particularly refer it to as not thinking per se of what lies, but I guess more of the negativity of it, the dwelling that comes with clinging on to a certain past that has happened, or expecting too much for what could be in the future, rather than I think what you said, because I think what you said, yeah, I'll agree with you on that, and I feel like in a lot of ways that's how you and I work per se as well. But I think that
I think
there's
perhaps
a
you
certain
mean overthinking.
yeah, maybe I want to say overthinking, but I feel like that word has been overly used all over social media, and its definition is so wavered with what is and what not overthinking is. And I don't know, sometimes it just gets very confusing to see all of these things
Simple to me, like if it causes you, like for example now, right, it's causing you distress, it's making you deviate from a particular goal, deviate from the state that you want to be in, something you want to achieve. If it's causing you that distress,
Yeah.
then it's overthinking, then it's useless. It doesn't commit to you, it doesn't commit to your goal, so there's no reason for you to commit to it.
Yeah, but okay, let me raise you a question then. Sometimes when you feel like you are overthinking in the moment, and you feel like you're stuck in that moment where you can't help but feel overwhelmed with everything that's going on, because I feel like that's something that's relevant, and even something that I go through very often, like pretty frequently. What do you think? What do you think helps you detach from those moments? What? Sometimes I personally, for me, I try to logic my way out of it. I try to think like, why? Like exactly like what you said, no? Why am I holding on to something that's dragging me down? Like, I should be, I do this thing where I sort of convince myself to think of other things. But what do you think? Or like, let's just say, what do you do? How do you sort of find that detachment from accepting that this is beyond your control, and rather than holding on to all of that?
Good question. Good question. What I do is simple. I acknowledge that what I'm going through at this point of time is merely a small part of a process that's leading me to something bigger, that I'm going to get past this moment.
Yeah.
There is going to be a point of time where this moment is over, and that everything I'm going through at this point of time is just something that I have to go through. If it's too much for me, take a step back. If you don't know how to take a step back, take a few deep breaths. Stop thinking for a second. Stop doing what you're doing. Take a walk. Meditate. Take a few deep breaths. I think I've already said that. But yeah, I try my best to take a step back from the situation, to even take a step back from myself and look at myself as though I am a third person.
Yeah.
Kind of view the current situation from a third person perspective, from an eagle's eye point of view, that I too am part of this process. My being is part of this process, and that I can isolate myself from the situation
Yeah.
and evaluate what I can do and what I should do, what I shouldn't do. That makes any
Yeah.
sense.
No, it does make perfect sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. I have to address this. I enjoy today's energy. I don't know. There's something about the day that I don't know why. I feel like even throughout this episode thus far, like I feel very calm talking about time for some reason. I feel like yesterday when we were talking about time yesterday, there was a certain sort of sense of excitement. But I think that I don't know why. I feel a lot of there's a sense of calm. I can hear birds chirping in the background of like a room, and I can see birds flying outside my window right now, and I don't know, I feel like there's a certain sense of the present, this moment right now, that sometimes you just want to sit back and enjoy the present. Like I understand like that everything's going on and all, but I think there's a certain sense of the present that's pretty special if you catch yourself thinking about it.
It's almost as if time stood still for this moment.
Yeah. But like that, it's gone. But like that. Uh,
See, moments and time, when you try to relate moments and time goes by. Time is in your control. Time is something that is moving in one direction, but it's something that you can take control of. But moments are something you have to appreciate because they will go by. Enjoying this moment, because one day you will remember this moment and think, damn, I'm glad I went through that moment at that point of time.
yeah. I mean, it's amazing, and that's the thing. That's another thing that makes me want to talk about, like the invention of the cameras and video cameras and being able to capture moments and keep them preserved, and they are going to remain.
You took the words right out. Like it's like you could read my mind. I just thought of that.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, that even right now that this episode is being recorded, we're capturing a moment in time that exists. And for anybody like listening to this, like I really encourage that you sort of like, for you to take a letter, like a video letter for yourself, that you could reflect on and just sort of look back, like, hey, 5 years ago this was the mental state I was in. This is the kind of person I was, the slangs I used, and even just going through like my photos from years apart just takes me back to a certain place that, like, wow, I used to be like that. But it's crazy how much unknowingly you grow from just letting time do its thing.
I feel like it's not just something that captures you in that point of time. It also captures the state of the world. What is going on in your surrounding, what is going on at this point of history.
Yeah.
We read textbooks and we learn about the social settings of the time, the history of that time. Fact is that us being able to take a picture or take a recording, even us just probably 5 years from now rewatching this episode, is a moment in history that we get to observe. Like now, for example, there's a pandemic going on, and that will affect my mindset in some way. My thinking is redirected in some way, and it is interesting to evaluate that. I feel it is interesting to simply observe. And in my words yesterday, I said that the internet has become a kind of history textbook where you can view timelines and how times have changed. Like I watched my old my old podcast. Somehow I managed to plug my old podcast, but yeah.
It took you 10 episodes, but like he's been attempting this consistently and trying to plug his own podcast. Oh my god.
I just wanted to reference it because it happened to be relevant to our conversation today. But I made a whole other podcast called the Pineapple Show podcast with my friend Bianca. Shout out to Bianca. About a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Miss Bianca. But yeah, so since I was bored and stuck at home, during this lockdown, I simply went back and listened to my old podcast, and I was pretty shocked that I didn't recognize the person speaking when in fact it was me. It was
Yeah.
me speaking, but the words I used were different. My mindset was different. My energy was completely different. And to
Yeah.
think that I've come a certain way, I've changed along the way, grown in some ways. It's pretty. What's the word? It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming, in fact.
It is very overwhelming because it was never possible, you know, like when we if without for all these technologies, it was never possible to be able to look back, you know. Your memories are going to fade and everything's going to become blur, but being able to see something captured in its prime, you know, in its best possible form, and rewatching it's crazy to think about, you know. I think the lives that we live, the sort of expectations that we have. You mentioned this yesterday as well, you know, having all of this preset, especially coming from an Asian household, you know, exams this year, you graduate by this year, you get to work, you get married and everything. Just being in that conformity itself is one whole, can be a whole ass headache if you really think about it. Like, I mean, I personally don't think that way as well. Likewise to you, but at the same time, there's always this this thought, you know, that your parents do have these expectations of when you're going to settle down, and for them that will be accomplishing fully raising us and all. But like, time.
I mean, I feel like a lot of our listeners can relate to these expectations. I mean, since we're kids, kind of expected to go through these few exams, you know, PMR, SPM, finish a degree, get a job, start a family, get for especially for Indian girls, you know, find a husband, get married, you know. That whole timeline has kind of just been some kind of preset for us when we were born into this life. Not something we really asked for. Not necessarily a bad thing for some people, you know, but I'm just saying that it's nice to be able to get to decide what you want to do, to take control of your time, you know, not to be in a rush. And if anything, the lockdown, I feel, has taught us to just take things slow for a second. You're not in a rush to get anywhere. I know life is hard. I know that there are different groups of people, different social groups that are going through different things. And I'm not saying that we should just sit down and do nothing and ignore the agony that the world is going through in certain places, because the fact is that some people are really going through intense forms of suffering, and that we shouldn't be quiet about it. But sometimes you have to acknowledge that you can only make a difference, or rather you can only make the best difference in the world when you are the best version of yourself. And in order for you to be the best version of yourself, you need to take care of yourself as well. So take a step back, you know, take a step back from the situation, just focus on yourself for a second. And I feel that's important.
Honestly, I have to agree 1,000% on just being able to be aware of where you are on a state of mind, you know. There's always this. I've come across a lot of people, and God bless all of them for being so selfless, and you know, regardless of how they feel and all, to be there for you, to put themselves, to make themselves vulnerable enough to be there and help someone. I think it is very understated how much it actually takes for somebody to be there for another person, and just being able to be aware of that. Hey, it's okay to take a break from all these things, and just to be there for yourself and to get yourself to the best version of yourself so that you can make the biggest impact. I think that is the most beautiful thing that we've been gifted, you know. I think time has been the most beautiful thing that we've been gifted, that we have, that we own, you know. Like,
you know, just before we end this episode, what you said kind of reminded me of something that I used to say in high school, through college, when friends used to come and thank me, or when I thank my friends for certain things, when we express gratitude. I sort of had this mindset, you know, money, property, anything material comes and goes.
yeah.
You can make it, you can lose it, but time, you can't make that. Time is what you have. that will run out. So when someone gives you their time, they are giving you something more, something bigger than money.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big deal, and
It's-
I genuinely express gratitude to all the people who have given me their time, because that's something that you don't get back.
It's
Something
amazing.
you
It's
don't get back.
absolutely very humbling. I love how we're ending today's episode. I think
even
as
even especially those who are giving their even those who are giving us their time to listen to our episodes. That's a big deal. That's a big deal to me.
it's a very big deal, honestly. It
You
is
sit
a
for
very
half
big
an hour
deal.
and listen to us speak. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And as a final note, first time can be defined in a million ways. You've just heard two of them, but honestly, at the end of the day, like we said, like the whole episode revolves. Sometimes it's best that you don't dwell too much in all of these things. Use your time wisely. Spend it on the people you love. Make the best out of the moment that you have right now. Don't really wait too long to do something that you want to do. I think honestly, and yeah, with that, I'm really happy, and I don't know, there's something about today that's very calming. I like it. I really like it.
We hope that this energy somehow transmits, and
Yeah.
we hope that we can share this energy with you guys. Hope that
Yeah.
you guys can absorb some of this positive energy, positive vibes, calmness.
Yeah.
Hope you have a good day. Or good
Yes, I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much. Till tomorrow.
See you
Cheers.
tomorrow, guys.